Some of the strangest forests in the world grow in remote southern regions, arid environments, beaten by the heat of the sun. The vast Australian continent can claim exclusive rights to a wide range of both animals and plants. All have evolved here and nowhere else over tens of millions of years. And of all Australia's inhabitants, those that define the very essence of this island continent are its marsupials and the eucalyptus. The sun, aridity, isolation, the inevitable constituents that have given rise to a characteristic and wide-ranging forest inhabited by the oddest of creatures. All the actors in this distinct theatre of nature are true originals and are linked in one way or another to its versatile but languid leading players. The aromatic eucalyptus, the silent, discreet protagonists of some of the most peculiar places on Earth. The eucalyptus originated in Australia, New Zealand, and other smaller nearby islands. But apart from in the island's great central desert, it's in the interior of Australia where it's most extended. More than 600 species of eucalyptus have adapted to the varied environments of Australia. From its almost always snowy peaks to the arid interior and down to the wet coastlands. The eucalyptus is truly the headliner of the Australian forests. It makes up no less than 95% of forests here. Eucalyptus trees come in the most varied of shapes and sizes, but in general they have perennial leaves that emanate their recognizable, sweet, rich smells. Their trunks may be dressed with bark of the most varied textures and are usually thick enough to resist fire. Among the numerous and diverse family of eucalyptus trees are the tallest angiosperms, or flowering plants, in the world, some of which exceed 77 meters in height. A huge part of the native fauna of Australia is intrinsically linked to ecosystems formed by the eucalyptus. Some animals can only live among their branches. Koalas. Koalas have specialized in eating and living among the eucalyptus leaves. But living in and on the eucalyptus doesn't mean they're not fussy about what they eat. Koalas live only in the east and southeast of Australia, which are affected by Pacific currents and thus are damper regions. And of the more than 600 species of eucalyptus with which they share their territory, they will consume few more than 20 of them. Koalas are strict leaf eaters, but this diet is very low in nutrients, so they will choose leaves that are richer in protein and which contain less lignin and fiber. But they have another adaptation. Eucalyptus leaves also contain high concentrations of cyanide, and yet the koalas are able to metabolize this. In a day, they will eat about 400 grams of leaves, which contain enough cyanide to kill any other animal. The leaves the koalas feed on are thin, tough, and, as a result of the oils they release to help control transpiration, aromatic. Many of the leaves of eucalyptus trees hang vertically from the branches, meaning that the sun does not hit them directly, and so they reduce dehydration. Much of the most iconic fauna of the Australian continent is directly dependent on the eucalyptus forests, feeding on their leaves, fruits, and flowers. Weaver ants have another use for eucalyptus leaves. They build their sturdy nests with them by binding them together with silk secreted by their larvae. Their colonies extend through the branches of the trees, forming modular cities in which more than 500,000 individuals are housed. Far from harming the trees, weaver ants are beneficial to them. As active insectivores, they hunt and feed on a huge number of insects. Nests like these among the eucalyptus are not unique to the ants. Many birds build their homes among the branches or inside their trunks and hollows. White cockatoos seem to be in permanent uproar. This is one of the most characteristic birds of Australia. They often form flocks numbering hundreds of individuals that search the forests for seeds which they devour. Sometimes they even alight on the grassland below, while a few of their number stand guard in the branches. Many eucalyptus have taken up residence in arid, semi-desert areas. In these zones, they concentrate around rivers and regularly inundated floodplains. This is the territory of the black-necked stork. A somewhat antisocial bird that doesn't like to share either territory or food with peers or competitors such as herons and ducks. These storks are keen hunters of all kinds of small vertebrates, from birds to fish. They will even catch insects. After the hunt, they fly back to their nest with some urgency. This nest, very large and usually located in a tall tree, is reused year after year. The adults take turns to sit on the nest. While they're rearing their offspring, they continue to add to the nest so that it remains clean, cool, and comfortable. The chicks, from very young, anxiously encourage their parents to regurgitate a portion of food. For 3 or 4 months, they will depend on what their parents can bring. After that time, theirs will be a lonely life. Yellow-footed rock wallabies live among the rocks in eucalyptus forests. Their feet have evolved special pads that give them a sure grip when climbing or jumping around their rocky territory. They can jump over 4 meters in a single bound. Wallabies live in well-organized communities in which males must compete for mating rights. When the females are in heat, the atmosphere is almost electric with tension. The fights can be very fierce. Rock wallabies are herbivores with a varied diet, exploiting whatever food is available according to the season. In times of drought, when the grasses have dried up, they depend to a large extent on the trees. Fallen leaves help them survive in such a dry environment. Taking advantage of the storms that blow up from time to time during the dry season, they will drink up to 10% of their own body weight in just over 5 minutes. This dry, open habitat is also attractive to stone curlews. The safety of these birds and of their offspring relies on two factors. Their camouflaged plumage and their ability to remain absolutely still, paralyzed almost, until the threat has passed. Only in cases of real danger will the male decide to make a move, attracting attention to himself and away from his family. While the mother remains on top of her eggs or chicks, the father extends his wings to intimidate or distract a potential predator. The Australian blue-tongued skink may be large, but he's not dangerous. He's a strict vegetarian. Pythons, however, are a threat, capable of swallowing the stone curlew's eggs or chicks. But not today. Bowerbirds build, as their name suggests, elegant love nests as stages to dance and attract females. The satin bowerbird is one of the world's finest architects, taking months to perfect his ballroom. Each male first builds an arbor from twigs and branches, and then decorates it with all kinds of colored objects in the hope of catching a female's eye. Snail shells, feathers, stones, seeds, indeed any attention-grabbing object will be put on show. Bowerbirds will sometimes come into conflict with neighbors, unable to appreciate their art. Ocellated turkeys are common in the Australian forests. Here they live, searching for food by obsessively digging in the leaf litter. But in addition, the forest provides them what they need to build one of the largest and strangest nests of the bird world. A mound of leaves on top of which females lay their eggs. The eggs are incubated thanks to the heat generated by the decaying process of the pile of leaves that the male has gathered. The temperature of incubation is controlled by the male opening or filling in holes in the pile of rotting plant detritus. The turkey's labours are of no interest to the koalas, resting in the branches. Their diet is so poor in calorific value that they will only move around for 4 hours a day. The rest of their time is spent in peaceful slumber. The eucalyptus forest may be a placid place or a dangerous one. The features that make it so recognizable, the aromatic oils of the leaves, the hot, dry environment, and the abundance of leaf litter, also make it highly flammable. When fire breaks out, the flames spread very quickly, putting the life of a large proportion of the forest's fauna in grave danger. But in the case of the eucalyptus themselves, with their resistant bark and their roots with specialized buds and sprouts, the fires are even a blessing in disguise. In fact, their seeds will sprout more readily after a fire. Nowhere on Earth is there such a unique and closely defined relationship between flora and fauna as there is in the eucalyptus forests of Australia. Their environmental conditions are extremely harsh. The fires that devastate large tracts of the forest are common. Droughts may last for dozens of years and halt the growth of the trees. But all the actors in these forest scenes have been able to evolve and adapt astoundingly to the various challenges of living here. The resulting astonishing diversity of plants, marsupials, reptiles and birds is completely unique to this miraculous island continent. There can surely be no stranger woodland anywhere in the world. This realm of ambiguity is half warm, murky swamp water and half lush vegetation without compare. It is a kingdom of the whisperings of water and the crackling of branches. An amphibian world found amid soft sandy islets and shallow marshes. These are the strange swamplands where a tangle of trunks, roots and branches forms the labyrinthine jungle. In its muddy waters and warm ground, life stirs in 1,000 different forms. Ancestral beings live here, millions of traveling birds, and animals that forever lurk, hidden among the maze of vegetation, draping every surface and thriving everywhere. In the humid subtropical climate found at the southern tip of the Florida Peninsula, an amphibious marshland, and some of the most enigmatic forests on Earth flourish. These are the Everglades, the eternal swamps. Water defines the character of this territory. It is the foundation from which the woodland and the accompanying curious landscapes surface. The heart of the Everglades lies hidden within forests of bald cypresses. A tangle of these strange cypresses' branches and trunks emerges from the muddy water. This species is a rarity among the conifers. Most cannot survive in water, but these cypresses grow out of it, clinging to the mud with strong roots and buttresses. Some specimens may grow to heights of more than 30 meters. And in amongst their exposed roots, prehistoric predators lie hidden. Caiman belong to an ancient lineage that has hardly changed for 240 million years or more. Their ecological success has meant that neither their physiognomy nor their habits have altered since that time. Neither has the role they play in this ecosystem changed. They remain the largest river and wetland predators. And in the swamps of Florida, they occupy whichever territory or habitat they like. No one is safe from their teeth. Caiman hunt by stealth or by ambush, but always with the same goal: surprise attacks against their prey with their powerful, lightning-fast jaws. One of the reasons for the abundance of caiman here is the mild climate, essential for large, cold-blooded animals. The climate in and around the rivers and wetlands in the Everglades is subtropical, hot and humid, with temperatures averaging between 18 and 29 degrees all year round. So, it is a welcome spot for the many species of migratory birds that take refuge here during the cold winters of the Northern Hemisphere. Many flock around the edges of the wetlands on the beaches lapped by the warm Gulf of Mexico at the tip of the Florida Peninsula where the Everglades end. During winter, these beaches fill with gulls, waders, and large flocks of skimmers. This species is unusual, although when they hatch both mandibles are the same length, as they mature, the lower mandible grows much longer compared to the upper one. The beaches bordering the Everglades are the most common, in the sense that they are ecologically simple and similar to other beaches around the planet. But further inland, in the swamps themselves, things change dramatically. 300 species of trees grow in Florida alone, of which half are native to the region. Palms, palmettos, pines and oaks have all adapted to the water that surrounds them. The climate allows plants to flower all year round and take up home in the most unexpected of places. Lichens drape old cypress branches, and different species of lilies cover large areas of open water. Some flowers live for just one day. This is a high-risk strategy. The plants have only a few hours to complete their reproductive cycle, during which they rely on insects to fertilize them. In the midst of the flowers, the trees and water of the marshes, an ongoing drama takes place. The leading actors are all perfectly adapted to this amphibian world. And the frogs that are found in abundance here are often the victims. Hiding is usually an effective strategy for avoiding danger. But while crossing the swamp, this green tree frog has fallen in an unfortunate spot. In the midst of the foliage, the striking color of his skin makes him an easy target. To stay alive, he will have to flee. But a hunter has already seen him, and it seems the die is cast. But today, this little frog rides his luck. He inflates his body very quickly, and the snake, preferring to avoid the trouble someone so brave might cause, retreats. In this complex woodland system, everyone has an important role. Squirrels are also an essential part of these varied woodlands. They may destroy thousands of seeds, but they also help disseminate and thus revitalize the forest by burying many more seeds in the ground. And they are especially partial to swamp oak acorns. Many of the occasional pantries where the squirrels store their supplies are forgotten about. And with these hoarding habits, the squirrels are the landscape gardeners par excellence of these forests. But not even the nimble squirrels are safe from the jaws of the caiman. They are the true rulers of these swamps. These usually slow-moving, ancient reptiles can actually reach speeds of up to 30 kilometers per hour. They will often venture deep into the forests to search for new territories. They are opportunistic, and their diet is largely determined by both the size and age of each animal and the size and availability of their prey. On the sandy islets guarded over by the dreaded caiman, pine trees grow in abundance. Here there are several endemic species that have adapted to the wet, sandy soils of the Everglades. The fauna of the region is extremely diverse, and squirrels, very fond of delicious pine nuts, are common here. But also found among the branches are woodpeckers, attracted by the presence of insects. Like the squirrels, the woodpeckers prepare storerooms for hiding their little culinary treasures. They prefer to excavate the soft, fibrous trunks of the palm trees found throughout all the habitats here. There they hide their acorns and all kinds of fruit. Of course, the pine trees are also excellent observation posts. Red-shouldered hawks usually hide in the branches from where they will locate their prey, which may be any of the many small animals of the pine forest. Nothing escapes their interest. They will hunt birds, rodents, and even amphibians that stray too far from the safety of the shore. The osprey, also known as the fishhawk, does not hide like the red-shouldered hawk. This large, powerful bird watches the flat expanses of water near its lookout. Surface ripples give it precise clues as to where fish can be found. The Florida Everglades are home to 220 species of fish. For the osprey, this is one of the best places in the world to live, thanks in part to the abundance of food and in part to the tranquility of the habitats. Water is the common factor linking each element of this wild wetland jigsaw. Lakes, canals, and flooded pastures are all essential parts of these eternally swamped landscapes. The shallow waters, rich in nutrients, teem with crustaceans, mollusks and invertebrates of all types and size, crabs, shrimp, snails and worms. The variety of aquatic fauna attracts a large and diverse community of birds that frequent the waters of the Everglades. Roseate spoonbills, storks, and the delicate bald ibis find nutritious, filling meals here. The Everglades are a region full of uncertainty, a halfway place between water and land, a boggy territory that only the bravest and best prepared can hope to survive in. Not all the animals who live here belong to the terrestrial world. Manatees swim in the canals and in winter may even reach the warmer waters inland. These strange mammals were thought by the first European seagoing explorers to be sirens, more commonly known as mermaids. With the onset of the colder weather, mother and calf will slowly venture deeper into the very heart of the Everglades, looking for quiet, warmer waters. Mother and offspring will stay together for at least 2 years. They will spend much of that time grazing on algae and other aquatic plants, even the leaves of the trees that fringe the water. Manatees are peaceful, sociable creatures that can weigh up to half a ton. And thanks to their size and weight, not even the caiman present much of a danger to them. So the two species coexist in absolute indifference of each other. That said, caiman and manatees do have one thing in common. Parental care. Caiman females, normally cold-blooded and savage, are solicitous, protective mothers who defend their eggs and their young in their early, most vulnerable days. Once the young are able to hunt insects, invertebrates or tadpoles for themselves, they are ready for life in the eternal swamp, and their mother will abandon them. Young caiman share their territory with some distant relatives, like these anoles, engaging in exuberant displays from the trunks of the marshland trees. Hidden in the heart of the swamp, among the roots and trunks of the bald cypresses, young caiman will come across countless creatures cohabiting this strange and changeable woodland. And one of the most curious of these creatures, the bald stork, whose head looks like it has been chipped away from an old cypress tree stump, competes with the young caiman for fish and crabs. From the muddy waters where caiman lie in wait, to lichen-covered branches where bald storks sleep, life stirs in 1,000 different forms. Here there is a place for everyone. It is a unique and complex universe, home to a vast collection of truly exceptional creatures, accustomed to the duality and uncertainty of life in the eternal swamps of the Everglades. Across our planet, the conditions that test life's ability to prosper are wide and varied. Some regions are fertile and sympathetic. They provide abundant water and a benign and constant climate throughout the year. It's in such regions that the rainforests grow, full of life, diversity, colors, smells, and exotic forms. However, other parts of the Earth are vast and empty, where the conditions for life are extraordinarily punishing. In the polar and boreal regions, only the toughest can survive. Those best adapted to Arctic temperatures, scarcity of water, and even the absence of light. The harshest of wildernesses, where the unforgiving glacial cold defines the rules of life and pushes its inhabitants to the very limit. Stretching from northern Europe to the edge of Asia, and from Alaska to the far north of Canada, the planet's boreal zone a vast region of trees extends. This is the taiga. The last ice age came to an end a mere 12,000 years ago. A large part of the planet lay beneath a thick layer of ice, on top of which nothing could grow. But as the ice abruptly shrank back, it exposed enormous expanses of cold, naked land. This was the opportunity that the conifers, pines, fir and larch had been waiting tens of thousands of years for. While temperate zones were colonized by broadleaved trees, the polar regions became a paradise for pines and spruces. And with them came the animals best suited to withstand such a demanding cold climate. It is winter that rules here, a long season that lasts about 8 months each year. All who dare to dwell in these vast woodlands need to take this into account. The conifers of the taiga have evolved to tolerate wind, ice and snow. The layout of their branches is one such adaptation. They're all downward pointing, so the snow can never build up enough to break them under its weight. These are, in fact, hugely successful trees. They make up the largest forest on the planet, covering the whole of the northern regions, more than 1,000 kilometers wide. The taiga may be uniform, boring even in appearance, but the inhabitants of these woodlands are very numerous and with many similarities. They are true survivors, adapted to the harshest conditions of an almost permanent winter. In fact, the coniferous forests serve to ameliorate the intense environmental conditions. Although bleak and inhospitable in appearance, the pines and firs of the taiga make the climate a little more bearable. They reduce the impact of the merciless north winds by about 25%. The inhabitants of the taiga have to bear everything that winter brings. The large mammals resolutely resist the very low temperatures, the snow, and the scarcity of food. Ravens are excellent survivors. They watch the comings and goings of the other inhabitants of the taiga closely. It may be that they provide the chance of a meal. Reindeer are driven hundreds of kilometers across the tundra by the cold to take refuge among the trees of the taiga. Their hooves are split into 2 wide and adaptable toes that act like snowshoes, allowing them to cross the terrain with ease. The hooves have a hard rim which protrudes and gives them the grip they need for walking on ice or hard snow. The struggle between life and death in the taiga becomes even more intense during the winter, so the recent arrival of the reindeer from the north is welcomed by the large predators of the infinite forest, who follow their tracks in the snow. Migrating in herds that vary in number between 20 and several thousand individuals, the reindeer will only remain in the forest area during the coldest season. Finding food in this frozen wasteland is not easy for anyone. Not even for the athletic boreal lynx, with their thick, heat-retaining fur and broad, hair-covered paws designed for hunting in the snow. They too have to cross large, empty expanses in search of food. Trekking through ice and snow uses up a large amount of energy. The reindeer's hooves help them keep hunger at bay. Despite the depth of the snow, they can dig through it to find branches covered in lichens. These will be their main food for several months, supplemented with the bark of trees, pine needles, and frozen grasses. When spring comes, they will head back north. The trees of the taiga also have their survival strategies. The needles of the pines and firs do not fall during winter. Conifers have been able to form the largest forests on the planet thanks to various such adaptations. Their leaves contain substances that act like antifreeze, and so they can withstand temperatures well below zero. Although there seems to be water everywhere, this habitat is actually a desert, since it's frozen for a large part of the year. So these leaves have evolved into needle form, just like the spines of cactuses. Amongst the trees, a multitude of birds find shelter and food that nourishes them in the depths of winter. The seeds of pines and of plants such as mistletoe, which is in fruit in this season. The spring is barely an improvement on the winter, and grouse come into heat while it's still snowing. As soon as the temperature rises a little, the leaves are ready to go into action. The pines must take advantage of the short summer to grow and reproduce at full speed. The spring is barely an improvement on the winter, and grouse come into heat while it's still snowing. Temperatures eventually rise, and the good weather seems to arrive. But wolverines do not rest in their constant search for food, day or night. Appearances here can be deceptive. The snow and ice finally disappear, and the taiga becomes a place of unexpected splendor. The creatures that live here have barely 4 months of summer in which to reproduce. Birds of prey arrive from the south and take up residence in the taiga. The booted eagle makes nests at the southern limits of the Great Forest. Its 2 chicks live in hope of a good spring. Many birds of prey nest here. The taiga is an immense forest whose tall, straight trees often exceed 30 meters in height, ideally suited for hiding your nest. Common buzzards reach further north. Only one of their chicks has hatched. Both species of raptor are witnesses to the important role the wind plays in the taiga. In winter, it is buffeted with icy intensity, but now is responsible for the dispersal of countless tons of pollen, thus helping the next generation of pines to flourish. And it's down on the forest floor that the extraordinary productivity of the taiga ecosystem can be seen. Millions of old pine cones cover the soil, and the rodent populations take advantage of this fact. Fallen seeds provide an almost limitless supply of food. The pair of booted eagles has not been able to feed both its chicks. Only one has survived. Although this one seems to be in good health. The remains of its sibling have probably been carried away by red ants. These social insects are the guardians of the taiga. In their nests, there may be more than 1 million ants. Every day, they will catch over 300,000 insects, many of which attack the pine trees. The European honey buzzard is another raptor that visits the taiga during the summer. It comes here to raise its young on its very singular diet. As its name suggests, it feeds on the honeycombs of bees and wasps, relatives of the ants, which they feed to their chicks. By this stage of the summer, the booted eagle's chick has fully fledged and will soon be leaving for Africa. The storms of autumn are ever more frequent, and temperatures drop daily. The buzzard chick puts up with the barrage of water as best it can. And after the downpour, it tries to warm up by exercising its wings. Within a few weeks, it needs to be ready for its first trip to the distant south. Autumn rushes on apace, and with it come the first snowfalls. The bears of the taiga realize the need for greater activity. The days are getting shorter as there are increasingly fewer hours of light. Temperatures drop considerably over only a very few days, and the nights, in turn, are now icy. It's around this time, if skies are clear, that bears patrolling at night do so below the lights of the aurora borealis. Some animals, such as these brown bears, need to double their weight before they can spend the winter in hiding, dozing in their dens. So it's time to eat as much as they can. Every day of autumn, they may consume up to 45 kilos of food. The gigantic brown bears check every corner of the forest, sniffing meticulously everywhere they go. But the storms do not make their task any easier. Luckily for the bears, some inhabitants of the Great Forest have already fallen. The bodies of the first victims of the cold will give them an extra dose of fat. The bear's metabolism at this time of year means that 75% of what they eat will be transformed into a thick layer of fat over their whole body. This in turn is converted into energy little by little during the winter while they hibernate. As the winter progresses, the wind stiffens and each snowfall is more devastating. Average temperatures now sink to 30 degrees Celsius below zero. But most of the taiga's inhabitants are prepared. Some, the weakest, will succumb, but the majority are ready to weather the storm. After all, this is their home, the largest terrestrial ecosystem on Earth, containing 60% of the planet's biomass. Silent, cold, dark and dense. A strange, frozen paradise. An infinite forest.